Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier on a big Tuesday edition of the show here on Orange Bloods Live. So pumped to be here with you guys today. And Cody, my question to you is: What if Texas for these last two games becomes the buzzsaw? I
It
mean,
could happen,
wouldn't it?
couldn't it?
I mean, it's like we're hearing so much about uh, Ohio State and Texas is running into a buzzsaw, and they got hot at the right moment. I keep thinking to myself, is this the right moment? What if Texas becomes the buzzsaw? What if Texas gets its own little 2-game hot streak? And what got me thinking about it was as I did the offense today. Cody, if you would think as I'm watching back the Texas offense versus Arizona State, do, how do you think the offensive line graded out in general?
Um, Probably right at about average. So without looking at, I was about to pull up the deep dig right now, actually. But without looking at it, I would say across the line, probably an average of like a 79 and a half. Probably, I would
That's
say
about
just like
right.
an average game. Not,
Isn't it
yeah.
wild that that's an average game these days? I mean, in the bad old days of Texas football, Cody, that you weren't around for, if there was this guy on the team that scored a 79, people would be dancing in the streets. I mean, that was the stuff where it's like, you would only get those games out of the Connor Williams or Sam Cosmi, or you have to go back to people who remember players like Trey Hopkins and D Hawk, Donald Hawkins. We're talking like 2013 and stuff to get those kinds of grades. Every now and then you would have a guy like Junior Angelau pop off for one. But it was it's just so funny to say, I just did an average old game, 78, 79s. It's to me it's wild, but yeah, I mean you're right. So as far as this game, we had Kelvin Banks. I'd missed 63 snaps, one run stuff, one quarterback hit allowed. He had a false start penalty, one knockdown. He had a deep dig grade of 81.03. So in Kelvin Banks territory, or in Kelvin Banks terms, not a
Down game.
monster game. But I mean, I mean, still good, right? Um, Hayden Connor, 63 snaps. He allowed a sack. And I checked PFF. PFF does not have him for that sack. And I'm just wondering how on earth, what are these cockamamie? Like, this is poppycock. Like, who they put that sack on, I have no idea. I'll send it
You
to you,
probably do
Cody.
process of elimination and figure it out.
Maybe. I don't even. He also had a false start penalty, did Hayden Connor. He had 3 knockdowns in this game. He had a deep dig grade of 78.81. Jake Majors played 63 snaps. He allowed 1 TFL. He had 2 knockdowns. If you notice that, like everybody so far has had knockdowns. Like this is like, he had a deep dig grade of 79.76. DJ Campbell played 42 snaps. Cole Hudson played 21 snaps. DJ Campbell allowed 2 run stuffs on just 42 snaps. He had 1 knockdown. His deep dig grade was 78.57. Cole Hudson played 21 snaps. He allowed a TFL. Of course, he had 2 false start penalties. He had a deep dig grade of 74.53. Trevor Goosby, 63 snaps. He allowed 1 run stuff. He had 2 knockdowns. He had a deep dig grade of 80.87. So if we look at these grades, we say to ourselves, all right, so the obvious weak point was at right guard, and you had DJ Campbell playing 2/3 of snaps, Cole Hudson playing 1/3 of snaps, and Cole Hudson's snaps coming in the part of the game that was not the final series, but the 2 series that were leading up to the final series that were good long series where those false start penalties, you guys will remember those false start penalties were costly in those 2 series. Kelvin Banks, we can't say that it was too costly because it got him into 4th and 13. It probably got him into that play, to be completely honest. Hayden Connors was costly. The 2 run stuffs allowed by DJ Campbell were both very costly. Those were series changing run stuffs. And whenever the reason why I'm talking about this is because I think Cam Williams is coming back this week. I can't be sure of it. Nobody will confirm it. Nobody from Texas is going to answer any of my questions about this, and understandably so. I would not answer any idiot's questions to me about this week. But
I
it
would
has
say
been
it's
a
a
week.
very wealthy bet. I would say, like,
Yeah,
it's
I mean, I've been able to go out to practice and just only for 10 minutes, but I've seen the guy moving. I have proof of life. I mean, he looks like he's going to play, and that was on Monday or Sunday. So I would have to figure, unless there's some new update throughout the course of the week that we're not going to get, this won't even be a week where somebody as well sourced as like an Anwar is going to be able to get that stuff. They're not going to give out any kind of secrets about this stuff this week. They're on lockdown like Fort Knox, but I, I think that Cam Williams is going to play, and so whenever I just looked at the run game, there was a couple of, and I know what everybody's concern is, and I know what Sark's concern is. I know what my concern is that the run game looked piddly and just pukey versus Arizona State. Kind of hadn't looked good in a while, and I think that's in some. First of all, in Arizona State, it's like I think it has to do with the game script, Cody. And you know this as well as any. You played offensive line, right? Or did you play defensive line? I forgot.
both. Play both.
Okay. Well, I played defensive line, but I mean, you know how it is in high school and growing up in junior high and stuff like that. You got to play both. Like if you have the body type to play DL, you're going to play OL and stuff. And so that's how you learn all this. And could you have ever thought about the offense getting going or getting lubed up and ready to go and feeling good and getting the kinks out when you have six plays you get to play in the first quarter and like 5 in the third quarter?
It's not a very good momentum starter. I mean, they did have a good momentum start at the beginning of the game with how it unfolded, but as far as actually getting through your play script and getting the offense going in motion and giving everybody the requisite rest, it's not inclusive to itself. So
I think about this. I'm like, okay, there were all these knockdowns in this game. Whenever I think about it, I was surprised to see the offensive line generally getting good movement. Not always. There were the TFLs. There were the run stuff. Some of them were costly. They came at bad times, but they were generally handling their assignments. Again, the right guard was a little rough. Right guard was a little bit rough, and that's a little bit rough to think about as far as like next season. Those are the two guys that are coming back. They're going to be like the bulwarks of the interior offensive line. Of course, you feel good about Goosby coming back, and we're going to talk about him and Cam Williams here in just 1 second and what all this means. The other thing was, Cody, in their zone run game, they would do this thing where maybe I'll show this picture. This just incredible. This incredible illustration that I went on Photoshop and did in about 25 seconds. And
I can upload it for you.
No one can give me trouble about this.
Here, I got it uploaded. I'll just pop it up on the screen because
Okay.
it makes this really tiny. Here.
Okay. All right. So I'll quit sharing mine. All right. So basically, look, if you look at this play, right, and you look at, is it showing my cursor?
No.
Let me share it on mine so I can put my cursor on it.
Okay.
Is that cool? Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So check it out. So this is like, it could be inside zone or outside zone. These, I kind of try, this looks kind of more like outside zone with the angles that these guys are taking. Right. And what you have here is the tight end or this sniffer that's lined up right here. Right. And this little action right here that you get wherever he goes sort of the opposite direction of the zone play. This is what's called a split zone or a zone slice. They call it a bunch of different stuff. Right. But it's like these guys go this way, and you see when this left guard kind of goes up, and he's gonna try and There's probably going to be like a 3 technique right here, and he's going to try and get underneath that 3 technique, and the left guard's going to help him here, and he's going to move up to this linebacker and try and get him right, and this guy's going to try and get across the 1 shade, and this right guard's going to help him, and he's going to try and climb it to the linebacker. This guy's going to kick out, and he's just going to try and take this guy out to the sideline, right? That's an outside zone type of run. The running back's going to come across like this. Meanwhile, this edge dude is left here on the end of the line of scrimmage, and what the tight end does in the zone slice or in this specific concept is he's going to come back across like this, and he's either going to kick this guy out, this edge, or if this edge manages to kind of come down here to where he's out of the play and he's not going to be involved in this cutback lane, right? Then what he'll do is it's called an arc release up to the will, right? And so what happened in this game was so many times they would take the tight end here and they would motion him out over here, leaving this part of this kind of this wham block or whatever you want to call this wham/arc out of the picture, to where these guys were just cramming down cutback lanes. And Wisner, he wasn't showing his best vision, but so many of these plays were these guys coming down like this. And the way you can usually mitigate that is, this quarterback, Quinn Ewers right here, generally, if he's a running quarterback or whatever, you see this on just like zone reads and stuff, right? Wherever he just takes the ball and this guy comes too far down. He's like, well, screw you. I'm pulling it. I'm going to run around you. Right. We're not going to let you either come down here, run down the line of scrimmage parallel to it and try and catch him from behind before he makes his cut upfield, or just be right there to catch him whenever he makes his cutback. We're not going to allow that. Right. Or the other thing would be this dude kind of comes in like this. This will linebacker comes and tries to filter to this cutback lane because he has no protection here via the arc block. When this will linebacker comes down like this, what happens then? Well, your tight end's already motioned over here, but you have your slot wide receiver right here. And what you have is an RPO read attached to where you have like DeAndre Moore or whatever. And he just comes in, he runs to this spot that is going to be vacated once he comes down, and you just pull it and you throw it to him. And like, these are the kinds of things whenever Sark says the run game is built off of these various zone principles. And look, you can do that with inside zone. You can do it with outside zone. They do it. It's done more with inside zone than it is with outside zone. But Sark and them, they do this stuff off of outside zone. And he's talked about how it's built off of it. Right. And when you start out the game, it's like Sark has his scripted game plan ready to go for the first, 15 plays of the game, whatever it is, right? And you don't get to that until getting towards the end of the second quarter. And like the run game just doesn't, I think, man, it all really starts to come back a little bit to what we talked about before was the defense getting off the field and the offense getting the ball, getting in a rhythm, all of this stuff, right? All those moving parts and all those pieces, they have to be coming together, and they have to realize it's like, oh, this motioning out this tight end to get him in the slot, that's kind of hurting us with this backside stuff, and we're not firing on all cylinders right now with the run game and everything that's attached to it. And Trey's not running quite. His vision's not quite as good. It's just like it never really got there, right? And so you add on to the fact that can we just talk about Trevor Goosby, because here he's really good. He's really good. Cody agreed that he's probably going to be a guy that we're talking about around this time next year is possibly going pro.
Possibly going pro, or possibly being a top 2-round pick.
Okay. All right. So yes. Okay. He's very good. He's very, very good. If Cam Williams can't play, he'll be fine, right? He'll be fine. But as I mentioned yesterday, I have the numbers to back it up today. He's not the asset in the run game that Cam Williams is. He just isn't. If you look at just his run snaps versus his pass snaps, I wouldn't looked at it. If I would have graded him just on his pass snaps alone in this game, he scores an 82.5. If I graded him on his run snaps alone, he grades out at a, what is it? It's a 78.04, which doesn't sound like a big difference, but it's a monumental difference with those guys. Between the way the two of those or between those two scores, right? He's much better as a pass protector than he is as a run blocker. He might right now already be a better pass protector than Cam, which is astounding to say. I think that they're about the same, but if you argue with me that he's better, I wouldn't have much of an argument back. I think Cam's still better as a pass protector, but it's sixes, dude. It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Is that what PFF says about him?
Yep. Lost Architects is 94 for pass pro and 76 for run blocking.
So I mean,
even about yesterday was the gap in how good he is as a pass pro versus not how bad he is, but just below, I guess, or at average in the run game. Whereas you said before, Cam is just a touch better run blocking than he is himself pass pro. That's the gap right there.
And so here, if we're taking that into consideration, Cam is about as good as he is in pass pro. I don't know what PFF says, but I'm sure that they have him probably about as good as him. Cam is. Let's just look at the regular season numbers. If we look at the regular season numbers, so Cam Williams played 750 snaps in the regular season. He only allowed 2 acts of run game disruption. There were two run stuffs. So once every 375 snaps. Now, I understand what people are going to say, but Alex, his penalties are – look, I get it. The penalties are – right? Like, it's fine. His penalties were that was his – like the clink in his armor or whatever. Like that was the way – that's the way you get him in the armor. But it's certainly, dude, it was not losing run game battles in the trenches. It's absurd to think that's once every 375 snaps. He didn't allow a TFL all year. He did allow 2 run stuffs once every 375 snaps. If you look at what the rest of these guys did, and you just look at the snaps per run game disruption allowed among guys that played at least 100 snaps for the Longhorns this year, based on my charting. Cam Williams once every 375 snaps. Kelvin Banks allowed run game disruption once every 341.5 snaps. Trevor Goosby allowed run game disruption in the regular season once every 126 snaps. So he's third place, but that's 3 times more often that he allowed run game disruption than Cam Williams during the regular season on a per snap basis. But he's still great. He's still third on the team, right? Goosby's third on the team in this metric. DJ Campbell was 4th on the team. He allowed run game disruption once every 95.17 snaps. Hayden Connor was 5th on the team. He allowed run game disruption once every 81.33 snaps. Jake Majors was 6th on the team among qualifiers, allowing run game disruption once every 75.2 snaps. And Cole Hudson was the worst. He allowed run game disruption once every 35.57 snaps. So over 10 times more often than Cam Williams. So as you can tell by that, Goosby sitting at 126.0, he was great.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not Cam Williams. It just isn't. It's not that big, mauling bruiser of a total bear, right? And if he's out there, and if Bond is out there, it's like then if those 2 guys being out there, Cody, both of those guys are like found
borderline.
Both borderline. They're the foundations of the way that plays are designed in a lot of ways are built upon expecting athletic outcomes that only those guys are capable of really achieving at a relatively frequent clip, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Not only in the run game and in the passing game, but these things are sort of tied together, right? And so it's not saying that Goosby's bad. Like I said, he's very good. He's very good. But some of these plays, they've truly been built and tailored, and throughout the course of the season, what they've become now in their eventual state has been something that's been built on the collective idea of this is what our offensive line is capable of. So we're going to push them to be able to do these things. And so some of those things right now, just Goosby can't do the same way that Cam Williams can. And so with getting Cam Williams back, with getting Isaiah Bond back, I'm gonna tell you why. It's like I'm gonna tell you why. Texas is in a prime position right now to actually become the buzzsaw. And listen, what you can become is somebody that eats better beef this year. Do you want to make a New Year's resolution? How about this resolution, man? Eat some beef that's good for you. Go to Texas Beef Traders, texasbeeftraders.com. Have you gone and checked it out over there? My neighbor Mo was texting me. He said that he was on his way to Texas Beef Traders earlier today because he was going to stock up for the big game. You should be doing the same, man. Texas Beef Traders, man, they got no vaccines in their meat. They got no cockamamie steroid shots, no like all non-GMO feed, bovine nutritionists on staff. The meat's processed right there in Mason, Texas. It's hung for 13 days and brought directly to the shop. It's like a farmer's market inside a butcher shop, except it's like where you get a bunch of free beers and they cook food for you and you can hang out and watch football or basketball and talk Longhorns with Darren, one of the coolest guys that there is. And look, I understand not everybody can make it into Lakeway, but this beef is so good for you and so healthy. It can be part of such a healthy diet, man. I've this year eating all this food from Texas Beef Traders. It's been outstanding for my personal health just to actually have good, high quality protein. It really makes a giant difference. If you can't make it out there, it's not like it's about as expensive as the grocery store. Not the Wagyu. That's more expensive than the grocery store.
Sometimes it's cheap.
What?
Sometimes it's cheaper.
Well, Wagyu is just expensive, right? But I like
for the ground beef. Sometimes it's been cheaper than places I've found around here.
Oh, dude, the New York strips are cheaper than the grocery store. Mm-hmm. The ribeyes are right about as expensive. The fillets are maybe a little more expensive, but still, like you're getting awesome farmers market, like delicious beef, fresh every week, brought there to the store, always fresh. It's so good. Texas Beef Traders. If you can't make it into the store, just call up Darren. Tell him that you want your 10% off because you love hanging out with us on Football with Friends. You'll get your 10% off, and he'll just bring it to your house. It's true. It's like just the wildest thing. Texas Beef Traders. TexasBeefTraders.com. So, Cody, I want to talk about why that means Texas can become the buzzsaw next. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about, do you think Bond is back? I mean, do you think Cam's back? Any thoughts on sort of my general sort of thesis here that it really does make a big difference? All of these variables that sort of came together, colluding against Texas in the Arizona State game as far as getting the run game going. And the getting somebody back like Cam, getting somebody who could be attached to the RPOs on bubbles and stuff like that, like Isaiah Bond, it makes a big difference, right?
100%. I think one of the best things that you said in there was something that maybe you didn't even realize you did say, but I think you said was about the offense being built and tailored for players to be in those spots, which is Cam being at that right tackle spot and Bond being able to be moved across the formation and just used everywhere. And the first thing that came to my mind was the old Mount Union coach. And this is Larry Karras, who won many, many, many championships that Alex would discredit because it's not Division I football, even though, the D1 FCS level, I think North Dakota State won their 10th in 15 years on Monday last night. So that's pretty cool. 10 championships. Anyway, the point was that Larry
was a new coach they had too, huh?
Polasic. He recruited me at Northern Illinois.
Oh, did he? Was he a good recruiter?
Yeah, he's a pretty good dude. That was back. Remember Jordan Lynch, the quarterback for Northern Illinois?
Yeah,
the running quarterback, the white boy, the running quarterback. That he was there when at that time. Anyway, Larry Karras, the coach from Mount Union, would it was a PFP, so it was players, formations, and then plays, and everything was built in that direction. So you got the players, and then you built the formation around the players, and then you built the plays around the formations, which was around the players, and it was built in that way. And that's how good offenses work. You don't just, this is the offense we run, and you're just going to come and run our offense. Like, you have to know what guys are built for your offense, and they went out and spent big dollars on Bond for a reason. And Cam is specific. Cam's massive, and he's built to do exactly kind of what he's given you. And missing those two pieces in this offense, it's a big shakeup. And you've seen the success that the team has had, like you talk about in the run game with just Cam. And I see people in the chat saying, yeah, the running backs. I mean, the running backs also play a part in this, in that they're used to running behind Cam because Cam plays a certain style. That's a little bit different than Goosby, obviously, because he's obviously a better run blocker. So you also get feel as a runner. You talk about, Trey Wisner last game, maybe not having the best vision. Well, some of that can play into having a different tackle in front of you that you're trying to run off his ass or butt. Sorry. Yeah. And you kind of just like feel it differently, right? Or your vision goes differently. And also not having a Bond is, they've bestowed a lot of like trust and belief in Ryan Wingo when Wingo's done well, but he hasn't been Jeremiah Smith, and that's fine. It's not like he's expected to be that, but it's also like he's had a lot on his shoulders because of the Isaiah Bond injury, and Isaiah Bond being 100%, which I do believe he will be. I do believe both of these guys will be as close to 100% as you can get them. What they won't be any closer next week than they will be today. I think it's just whatever. They're going to play. It's the last game of the year. It could be the last game of their collegiate careers. They're both playing in this pseudo.
It in the last game of the year. It could be the last game of the year.
Is that when I said? I thought I said it could be their last collegiate game. It's a pseudo championship, and Bond's not missing this. Cam Williams is not missing this. I think everybody knows that they had the upper hand last week, and they could talent themselves through that game. They almost didn't, but they did. Bond playing 30 snaps, Cam Williams suiting up tells me that both of these guys will be full-fledged in the game plan, part of the game plan, and probably focused upon them in this one. And that's going to help Texas get the win in this game. So 100%, I think that was one of the things that just jumped directly off when you started talking about the importance of Cam and the importance of Bond. It's not about Goosby not being great, or it's not about Wingo, he's drawn a lot of pass interferences this year, but the way Wingo plays is just a lot different than how Bond plays at the current stage and what that means to the offense and the dynamic ability of the offense. So I think it's interesting. And I do think you bring up the word buzzsaw in that Texas can be the buzzsaw. Texas has scored points. We can't act like Texas hasn't scored. Like, you look at the last two games for Ohio State, they scored 42 and 41, right? Texas has scored 39 and 38. Texas has scored points. Quinn's thrown for 322 yards, 358 yards, 2 of the last 3 games. Both teams have had very similar arcs to their season, right? Start hot, 5-0, 6-0, lose to Oregon, lose to Georgia pretty much in the same week. I think their loss was October 12th. Texas is October 19th. And then the last week of the season for them was against Michigan, lost. And then Texas goes into the SEC championship, loses, and then win in the playoff. Like, these teams are very much, they've been on the same track all season. They're about as equal a talent as you can get across the board in the sport. The two best teams in football, and they're currently the buzzsaw. But I think you said it best on the modcast earlier, in that they've been very Jekyll and Hyde, and they've been just like that all year. They scored 24 points against Penn State, or 20 points against Penn State, 21 against Nebraska.
That was a close game, that Nebraska game. I remember that being like down to the wire. That was like 21-17.
21-17 against Nebraska. The following week, that was at home too. At the Penn State, the following week was 20-13. Remember, that game started out with an interception. They were playing a zone defense against Jeremiah Smith. They threw a pick to Jeremiah Smith, and the safety was baiting him into it. And then they lost the game 13-10 to Michigan, 31-7 to Northwestern. Wasn't completely dominant fashion, but it was what it was. It was on the road. And like, they looked fantastic the last 2 weeks. You got to give them that. Yeah, but I think Texas will play an entirely different brand of football and defense than each of those Tennessee and Oregon teams will. And you can see that, especially if Texas gets out and has a good first quarter, that the buzzsaw feel for Ohio State could be completely hampered down. Now, when you got the momentum, that's the biggest thing in the sport. You got the momentum, and if they somehow start the game with it, I mean, you'll be in trouble. But I think Texas has got the talent and the schematics to counter that early on. And I think it'll slow it down.
And look, it's always about getting hot at the right time, right? And so whenever I look at it and I'm like, okay, foundational pieces on offense coming back, health. Um, it's not only those two, but it's also Quinn Ewers. He hasn't suffered any kind of little setbacks or anything like that. It hasn't been like he's coming out of these games saying it's like, oh, he re-injured his oblique, or oh gosh, he's worse for the wear on that ankle. He's come out of these games where it's like every week it feels like the health doesn't seem as much like a concern to me with Quinn Ewers anymore. People forget that Kelvin Banks was hampered by his ankle, right? Like he had the ankle. He's now another week removed for this. He looked no worse for the wear this last week. He's back to being fully healthy. And then here's the other thing. It's like, man, Texas has gotten basically basement level production from Ant Hill during the two playoff games. And it's just like that can't keep up. That can't hold. Like it's not going to. Ant Hill is the most special player on that defense, and it's like
this is his biggest matchup.
Oh, dude, Ohio State's one of the teams that recruited the pants off him. Like it's like this is a big deal. This is back home in Dallas. Are you kidding me? This is an anthill. This is an anthill type of game, and so I mean, just natural positive regression. It would indicate to me that he's going to get back to like whenever he starts getting his production again, like we talk about in fantasy when we talk about positive regression. It's like it comes in buckets, and so. I'm expecting that Texas has done what it has and won 2 college football playoff games in a row, despite just getting nowhere near the production out of their best defensive player that they their biggest difference maker that they have all year. I mean, he generated what? I don't even have the snaps per production numbers pulled up, but like it was what on the season, like once every 5 point something snaps, and then you get to 5.26 in this last game versus ASU. He generated production once every 37.6 snaps. It's like, I mean, it's not gonna happen again. That kind of stuff just doesn't, that doesn't track at all with his, like, he's such a gifted, special dude. And so, it's almost like you get an anthill game out of him. It's almost like getting a player back who's been injured.
Can I ask you a question about you bring up the buzzsaw factor? Is the buzzsaw factor that you're saying, is that an offensive like scoring outburst, or is that a defensive?
It's everything that we've seen out of Ohio State. It's like shutting them down on defense and going big on offense and everything. Because here's the and I'm not saying Texas is going to do it, but like look at how things.
If it happens, that's what you're talking about. You're saying, can they be the buzzsaw? That's what I'm trying to visualize. Right. Is what you see in the buzzsaw, because I'll tell you what I see in it, but I want to hear what you see in it first.
Yeah, I see a dominating performance where the college football world looks at that team and says that team looks unbeatable to me.
No, but like, is that running the ball? Is that airing the ball out?
Yeah, I think it's just being efficient on offense and being dogs on defense to get after quarterbacks and stop the run.
Okay,
it's like the buzzsaw, like the team is the buzzsaw. I look at Ohio State, I'm like, man, I'm worried about Jeremiah Smith, but I'm also worried about Emeka Egbuka. I'm also worried about Carnell Tate. I'm worried about the running backs, and I'm worried about the defense. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like you worry about it all, and you can nitpick stuff about the backup left tackle and the right tackle and the young center and stuff. And there are things that you can, there are gonna be warts that you can find on all these guys. But I look at it and I say, okay, so we talked about Cam and Isaiah Bond being foundational and maybe being back. Right, to not just being back, but like Isaiah Bond is running and cutting, and he's doing these things in practice. He looks like Bond. Okay, he has not looked like Bond recently. Bond is not a 1/3 of snaps kind of guy. He's not a wide receiver 5 as far as usage. That's just not him. He looked like a starting alpha at the part of practice that I was at. Okay. They say that Texas has been a Jekyll and Hyde team, but like we just talked about with the Michigan game, all the rest of it, right? Texas smoked Michigan. They say so, and like I'm just checking my notes here. I'm just like, Texas stands no chance versus Will Howard.
So
I'm just like, and then Brian Day, whose family has been getting death threats. Herbstreit goes on McAfee's show and says that he's now requiring a 24/7 armed security detail due to this stuff, and because they're so ticked off at him as a head football coach. You're telling me that he comes down to Dallas, Texas, and he's simply incapable of not just completely outfoxing this lowly Steve Sarkisian and Pete Kwiatkowski in the middle of Texas. Like I'm just saying that if you put all of this stuff together, when you get to these types of games, Texas is in the Final Four, Cody. Like you're gonna. Part of the fun of getting here, you're going to play really good teams. It's going to be tough. You're in the Final Four. Texas isn't here by happenstance. This isn't a Make-A-Wish Foundation trip up to Jerry World they're getting to go on. This isn't a sympathy game that they're getting to kind of play in for just to be, just for giggles. So like this is a like an MF and squad, dude. Like this is a squad. And so I'm just to me, I'm just like, well, if they just kind of get these kind of little things together about the run game, so much of that stuff pieces off of that. These are the ways that the run game can come together. And these are the ways where who's to say that it's Ohio State that stays the buzzsaw?
I agree with you. And I also, the one thing I wanted to bring up, and when you said buzzsaw the first time, the thing I thought of was everyone just keeps talking about, well, Will Howard can't beat you because he didn't beat you at Kansas State, and everybody knows that. But he does have all this talent around him, and all these receivers, and we got to worry about stopping these receivers. But then I thought about the offensive line that we've talked about that's missing Josh Simmons, a first-round pick, missing Seth McLaughlin, who played center for Alabama last year in the playoff, and he's hurt. And every week in the column I do on Wednesday or Thursday, which will come out tomorrow morning, I do the according to PFF thing, right? According to PFF this year so far, and this is regular season plus postseason in pass blocking grade, according to PFF. Again, it's a grade. It's not a stat, so it's cockamamie. Texas has the 7 best offensive linemen in pass blocking in this game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So best it's the starting 5, and then there are 2 that aren't start. So I mean, Goosby's one.
Goosby and Hudson.
So okay, so
and then
Hudson is a better pass blocker than their best.
According to best, their best is Donovan Jackson on the season, 64.4 pass blocking, and then it's Fryer, Searvald, Teshabola, and Hinsman. The bottom 5 on this list is a list of 14 names. The bottom 5 on this list are those guys. Now, again, Simmons is up. Simmons is like 4th on the list. McLaughlin's 8th on this list. But both of those guys, like I said, are not playing. And then if you want to just go to postseason and you want to look at overall grade, it's Donovan Jackson's actually the highest graded offensive lineman in the game, who's playing left tackle now. He's former guard. And then it's Majors, Campbell, Banks, Connor, Goosby before you get to their guards. And their grades, Alex, 52, pass blocking 39, 33.
39 and 33. Wow.
That's 39. Like, and the reason I explained it that way and talked through it that way was simply because we're talking about, and we've been talking about all week and the last 2 weeks, is how sick Jeremiah Smith is and how sick Igbuka is. And what if there's no time to throw the football? What if that's the suffocation? The suffocation is the fact, this is a fact. Statistically, Sorrell, Moore, and Simmons is the best trio of pass rushers that was in the tournament, period, from a pressures perspective. There's no better trio. I don't even think there's a better duo. Abdul Carter by himself is ahead of those guys, but there's no better trio in the entire tournament. I know we're down to 4 now, but there was no better trio in the entire tournament than those 3 dudes. And then you talk about the Alfred Collins and the Vernon Broughton factor. But what if what if, and I guess I hadn't really thought through this until Ketch said he thinks it's going to be a low scoring game. I was like, all right. So I start digging and I come across the offensive line stuff and I'm like, I guess that's how it happens. That's how it happens. This offensive line just can't even hold the jocks of these guys. And there's just, it doesn't unfold the way that everybody sees it. Sort of like that Viking Lion game the other night. It didn't unfold the first, 30 minutes of the game how everyone saw it was going to. They're like, oh, this could be 38-38. It wasn't. It was 10-9 or 12, whatever the hell it was, 12-9. And it's like, what if that's how this game unfolds? And it is. Who can run the ball? And you said Cam Williams at right tackle, important in the run game. Isaiah Bond across the formation, motions. Like, those are all underlying things that I think you say, taking away the momentum, taking away the buzzsaw factor from them, and then creating it for you. It's that defensive line can win you this game.
If you take down Ohio State, you definitely take over the mantle of the hot team because you took down the new hotness. So it's like that. That's just, it is what it is. That's what the narrative is for this game. It's the way that the national media see it. It's the way that is the line still 6 or is it moved down? Is it like 5?
I think it's at 5.5.
I wonder what the handle is on that versus
it's still 5.5.
This site I go to for the college football betting trends and money percentages isn't as good as the stuff we have over at Roster Watch for NFL, but it'll sometimes give you a little bit of an idea. So if I go down here, what day is the game? This January the 8th? Is it the
Friday,
8th? 9th?
Sorry,
9th?
10th.
Oh, the 10th. Okay, 10th. 60. So we have 34% of the tickets on Texas, 25% of the money. So the public and the money is all on OSU here.
Is it run back a little bit? What's the percentage at again? Can you say that?
34% of the tickets, according to Sports Betting Dime, 34% of the tickets, 25% of the money it's +6 at DraftKings, +5.5 at FanDuel.
So it sounds like it's 34% of the money's on Texas. You said 34, so that 66 on Ohio. It sounds like it's coming back a little bit. I heard it was in the 80s a couple days ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like if you're a fade the public type of guy, then Texas is the play. Clearly, if you're a Texas fan, you want them to keep it. You don't care if they keep it within 6, right? You just want to get the W. But I think that there was somebody in the chat earlier. And I hate that we didn't get to. Somebody in the chat was asking earlier about might there be anything with like weather and travel? We're having on and on a little bit later in the week. Is that tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Okay, we're having on and on tomorrow, and he's having to come down early because he's trying to avoid any possible snow. I don't know what the weather's going to be like up in Dallas, but they're saying it's going to be. Can people in chat let us know like what they're saying for the weather? Like we're not weather guys here. If you're coming to us for best advice about that, man, I don't know.
The last thing I saw was like 10 to 14, but obviously I don't live in the DFW. The thing I do know is that the arrival was Wednesday. So Texas is arriving up in Dallas tomorrow afternoon. So before the show goes live tomorrow, 4:30 to 5 is their availability up there. So they're going to be up there tomorrow afternoon. So teams will at least be near the stadium. So I think the game will happen. I think it'll all just be dependent on, can fans get there or not? I think the game will happen though.
Oh, right. I'm wondering I don't know if it's like, I don't know if it's, is it snowy in Dallas already? Like, is Ohio State going to have any trouble like flying in with their airplane or anything?
That's what I'm saying. I think they're probably going to get in early enough.
Okay.
I don't know
so
what
that won't be an issue. I did see, Cody, that they were going to they've been practicing Ohio State. They're cranking in crowd noise at practice. Super, super, super duper loud. I think they're probably expecting it to be a Texas heavy bunch there. I don't know.
Like prices are down around $120.
What?
I said I saw ticket prices on aftermarket were down to about $120. So
For the
it's not
for the
bad.
for the cheapest seat to get in the house?
Yeah, and that's a mega stadium with a 7,000-inch screen in front of you. So
Okay, so here's the reports for anybody who's watching back on the on the um on the replay, which is like 95% of you, but thanks to the over 800 people watching right now between X and YouTube. Um okay, so Christopher Summers says 2 to 4 inches of snow on Thursday, but we'll know more tomorrow. Oh gosh. Hacker saying 6 to 15 inches and icy in Dallas.
mhm.
Um But all right, so this stuff is so Estron 45 is saying it's not snowing here yet. Um, okay, so yeah, I mean it's like it looks like people are all over that. I guess they're all watching different weathermen. But that's look, man. If it gets that cold around here, I'll be glad that I got my poncho hoodie on. This it's so crazy, Cody. This is the least popular poncho hoodie, right? It's like this is the one that no one wants.
Because of the color, probably.
And dude, it still looks great. I think it looks fine. It looks fine. I couldn't get the sage. I couldn't get they're sold out of the sage. It's like the football with friends beef jerky, man. They just put them up and it just goes, right? Like the sage green, the slate blue, even the camo one. I'm not even into that camo one because I think it's
fake.
I don't think it's a good camo. It's not a good camo pattern.
Yeah.
Like I like to buy the tactical.
It's cool though.
Yeah. But and not to say it's bad. It's bad. I'm sure it's I think it's more for like ducks and stuff. But and so I wouldn't know as much about that. But man, this shirt's made out. This is made out of recycled plastic bottles. I mean, like Poncho's about like keeping our waterways and stuff clean, man. Making sure these fish stay healthy and stuff for us to go have a good time killing them and eating them. So make sure and support Poncho. They're great. They're great sponsors. They are wonderful Longhorn alums, and you see Colt McCoy wearing that awesome shirt. So thanks so much to our good friends over there. And while we're saying thanks to our sponsors, of course, we have to say thanks to our great friends at Specs.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets.
All right, I cut you off, Cody. What was it that you were getting at there?
I wasn't going to say much. I was just going to say I hope that they're making an effort to go collect those bottles from the Gulf of America so they can keep that thing clean.
Yeah, dude, right? Keeping it nice and clean down there in the GOA, man. That's where we pull out all of our big redfish and our big speckled trout, right? All right, I just wanted to see if I could put up quickly a thing here for I can't find it, but I don't know how to take this off. Where's Poncho on here, Cody?
Poncho's up already.
Oh, it's on the bottom. All right. Anything else, man? Do you want to talk about anything from your column for tomorrow? Anything you want to hit on? Anything about this game? Anything about Penn State, Notre Dame? I know that we do have some scheduling stuff for the rest of the week to let you guys know about. We're not gonna have a show Friday because we decided that none of y'all are gonna watch. As we talked about before, our main audience for this show doesn't, and we love having the chat, man. We love having all you guys, but this show is like a show that people watch the next day, and so it wouldn't do the show and people watch it the next day after the game's over. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be having a pregame show with Ketchum and Chad. I think Cody might be you might be hopping on there still to be seen, but on House Divided on Friday, we're going to either me or Cody or some other people are going to be on there too. Just kind of have a game day sort of show for House Divided. That'll have a little bit more lead time where people can watch it heading into the game since the House Divided is at noon. And then on Thursday, I haven't talked to you about this, Cody, but I figure we just get out of here as soon as the Penn State game kicks off. Right? Is that at 6:30?
Final takes for half an hour or something like that.
Yeah, half an hour of final takes on Thursday. So we'll have a full show tomorrow. Anand and Duri will join us. Our good friend Anand, who is a Ohio State super fan, and we're going to get him on here. Let him show off all the selfies he takes at practice, like a teenage girl meeting all these.
Also on Saturday, going to be live on Orange Bloods at I think noon. It's gonna be a special. It'll be on Saturday at
Saturday
noon.
show. Hopefully a victory Saturday. So we will see how all of that goes. And then one other thing. We were reminded today that we got to ask you guys to like the show, subscribe to the channel. We certainly do appreciate that. We'd like to get in, get out, just talk football and stuff and not bug you with all that. But they really tell us we need to ask. So if you could please like the show, subscribe to the channel. It helps a ton. Of course, we know the most important thing is the most important thing is just tell your friends about it. Just keep coming back and hanging out with us. The show's growing like mad. It's awesome. So thank you guys. Cody, anything else before we get out?
That's it, brother. A couple days ago, less than 72 hours.
You can email us, fwfemails@gmail.com. You can find us on X at Cody Carpentier, at Alex Dunlap NFL. You can find our Football with Friends account, FWF_OB. Again, please like the show. Please subscribe to the channel. We're here every night, man. So come hang with us. We love you guys for being here, man. We can't believe so many of you have become our friends here on the show, man. So thank you all so much. We love you. God bless you guys. God bless your families. For Cody, I'm Alex. We're done.